Salutations, my fellow dudes and dudettes. I am your host, Sonic007, and welcome to Sonic the Hedgehog 2 for the Game Gear and Master System. Oh boy, I had a lot of issues recording this game. I'll be getting into that a little later. Yeah. uh, I'm feeling a little anxious about this because of what happened prior when I was trying to record this. Released like literally, I want to say 2 to 3 weeks before Sonic 2 on the Genesis. This game follows the same formula that the one on the first game on the Game Gear Master System version did. 8-bit Sonic, you can jump, the net control's a little weird. And if you're playing the Game Gear version, that means a lot of screen crunch. I'm actually playing this on the Master System version because of something that happened in the midst of recording. But before that, we got Underground Zone. Now, one thing I gotta compliment Sonic 2 GGMS for, which is how I'm gonna abbreviate it from now on, compared to the first game, is the fact that every level is unique to a much larger degree. Whereas the first game, like, the only real difference was the level layouts, and in the case of like 2 levels, there were actual gimmicks. Like, for instance, Bridge Zone had the auto scroller, which is something you do not want in a Sonic game, and Scrap Brain, where it was a maze of a bunch of switches. You had to press them in order to unlock some gates and whatnot. This game is actually a little more unique in that regard. With Underground Zone, you have all these mine carts going through the tunnels, and they ride along the rails, and you could jump off them whenever you feel entitled to. It's really neat. But anyway, yeah, that's the basic control. That's the basic idea behind this zone. Let's talk about the plot real quick, because it's quite different from the Sonic 2 you guys might know at home. So apparently, Miles Tails Prower, everyone calls him Tails, was kidnapped by Dr. Robotnik, and Dr. Robotnik is asking for all 6 Chaos Emeralds in exchange for Tails' safety. And it's up to Sonic to do just that, get all the 6 Emeralds. And just like in the first game, you have to find the Emeralds in each, within the acts themselves, within the second act of each corresponding zone. Or at least in 5 of, the first 5 zones. You're actually given the last emerald at the end of the 6th zone, assuming you've collected the other 5 previously. I like to wonder why Robotnik is even bothering with this, especially considering the cutscene we're about to see for the boss fight. Also, just like in Sonic 1, you don't have any rings when you're fighting the boss. So it could be a little tense. Not as much for me, because... Alright, I think it's about time I got into that. This part isn't going to be very long. After the editing, this part's going to be like just a little over 10 minutes, so let me explain what happened. So I initially wanted to do this live. This is actually post-commentary. I apologize. I really wanted this to be a live Let's Play. But I ran into a snag when I was recording, and my footage became really warped when I was recording with my capture device. I had the HDMI converter for my Wii. I plugged that up, plugged the HDMI into the device, and then the device into the TV, and the results were bad. They were really bad. Initially, I was ultimately deciding to just wait to do this until I got my original capture card that I initially used to record the Game Gear Sonic games. But I ultimately decided I didn't want to keep you guys waiting, so I'm just going to record the Master System version. I'm actually glad I did, because the Game Gear version is really frustrating. I mean, unfortunately, because I had to use an emulator to do this, I had some frame issues, and you might have noticed it just a little bit ago. Also, the music is actually a little different. Like, the boss music is different for some odd reason. But yeah, I had to record using an emulator. I didn't want to. I really did not want to. And thankfully, when I get to the good Sonic 2, the one everyone is all over, including myself, I'm actually going to be able to do that live. Because I'm going to record, I intend to do that on my PlayStation 3 via the Ultimate Genesis Collection. I wish I could record off the Mega Collection, but alas, I just can't do that at this moment. Anyway, Sky High Zone. The main idea with this level that there's a bunch of hang gliders in parts of the level, and you're going to use that to progress. Not much else to it. Also, one major difference between the Master System and the Game Gear version. The Master System does run a lot smoother than the Game Gear version. Assuming you've played the Game Gear version, you might notice that the footage that I'm talking over right now, it's running a lot more consistently because the Game Gear will chug at certain intervals. Like, for example, when you're crossing that bridge at the beginning of Sky High Zone, the game just chugs like a snail. It's really weird. And yet, for some reason, the Master System plays just fine. I kind of wish I had access to, like a virtual console version of this game, but unfortunately that wouldn't have mattered. The only accessible version for the virtual console is the one on the Wii. That server shut down, and plus the problem that I had when recording the Wii itself, off the Wii itself. Anyway, here's a hang glider. You're going to want to tap left on the analog stick or D-pad, whichever you're using. There's the frame drops again. I think it's because I'm using Fraps to record this. I could use OBS. I do not have a way to do that. Or at the very least, I haven't... It's like I've had OBS on my computer for a while. Still haven't figured out how to use it. Maybe later down the road I could get some assistance with that, but for now, Fraps is just fine. But anyway, with the like I say, you're gonna press left on, or I guess technically backwards, but you never go left in Sky High Zone to progress. You're always going to the right to progress. So yeah, tap left on the D-pad or analog stick, whichever one you're comfortable with, and you should be fine. The carousel mode in this level is a little bit tricky. It actually took me a bit of effort to actually remember how to do it. You might have noticed all these clouds with rings slightly above them. It's because some of these clouds actually have springs. And what you want to do is you want to bounce from that spring I just bounced off of a moment ago. I'm actually going to cut here because I failed a lot for no good reason, despite the fact that I just didn't remember how to do this. And there you go. Shouldn't take you too long, especially if you're watching this footage and you actually have access to the game. Just keep in mind that the Game Gear version with the screen crunch, and this problem is going to plague one of the later levels. That screen crunch is going to be your worst enemy. So if you do want to try this game, I'm probably going to say this again at the end of the Let's Play. Do the Master System version, whether you actually have access to the actual version, and if you do, kudos, because that's really rare to get your hands on. I'm sure a lot of gaming conventions would have them, but I don't know. I don't think the Master System did seem like a very common thing to come across. I'm sure a number of people had the Game Gear. I'm pretty confident that almost nobody had the Master System version. Anyway, the boss fight for this guy. I probably should have explained the boss fight for the first boss, but you saw the strategy, so I guess I should just go into explaining this guy. You've got all these little bird bots and these little pods that are constantly coming out of it, at least in this area. You want to destroy those pods, and then this big old ostrich-looking thing comes out of nowhere, shooting a fireball. What you want to do is you want to jump over the fireball. It does have slight homing properties, but it's nothing too bad. And you want to just constantly jump on its head. Or you could just constantly just you could just constantly bounce on his head without the need for dealing with the fireball, because whenever you hit the bird, like before it shoots the fireball, it interrupts it and it can't do anything at all. So just do that. Just do it that way, and you should be fine. But yeah, that's about it for Sky High Zone. It's good. This Let's Play is going to be 4 parts. If you are uncomfortable with some of like the inconsistent parts with Paper Mario, don't worry. That's not going to be the case for this game. But anyways, we're going to call it a part. Next time on Sonic the Hedgehog 2, GG and MS, we're going to be doing Aqua Lake and Green Hill Zone. Pray for me. So until then, I get a juice.